Maybe you've heard the story, or maybe you have even read the book, or maybe you've even seen the movie. Maybe you know it by heart, this story, about the person whose heart was 2 sizes too small. As the people of the village prepared for the winter holidays, hanging evergreens and ornaments, decorating trees and preparing gifts and singing songs and baking all of their favorite things, far too much of it, and the one whose heart was too small didn't like any of it. He hated the noise, he hated the feast, and most of all, he didn't like the songs and the singing or the roast beast. Sometimes, when you don't feel happy, or you don't feel very welcome, or you don't feel very invited or included, you don't feel like you belong, or you are angry at someone, or someone's angry at you, it's easy for a heart, for love and for joy, to feel like it has grown or is growing small. Sometimes a heart will grow smaller and smaller the more it feels lonely or afraid or angry. A heart, which might be a soul or it might be happiness, will grow smaller until you feel like there's no room for love or for laughter or joy anymore. So I have a few helpers for this homily this morning. Anne and Amy and Joyce and Derek are going to help hand out some baskets while I keep talking for a little bit. In each basket there are hearts, red and green, very small. I invite each person to take a heart. There's also crayons in there if you didn't bring your own crayon to service today, or if you don't have another writing utensil, you can use whatever you like, but there's some crayons in there. I want everybody to take one, children and adults alike. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to write a few things. I'll give you the instructions after they've gone around. But first, do you remember what happened in this story? Do you remember what happened to the one whose heart was 2 sizes too small? Out of his loneliness, out of isolation, which turned into anger and madness, he snuck into the village. He took his big bag over his shoulder. This wasn't Santa. He shoved into this bag all that was joyful and all that was festive, all the decorations, all the evergreens, all the lights and the trees, the stockings, the stars. He searched and seized everything that was creating joy. He shoved it into his big bag full of anger, everything he could. He took it away while the people of the village were fast asleep, doing everything he could to take away all that he thought made them happy, to take away everything that he thought made them happy. And he didn't want them to feel that happy because he wasn't. So I want you to think about a time when you felt like your heart was small, or you didn't have a lot of love or happiness or joy within you, when the weight of other people's joy around you felt like a burden to carry because you weren't feeling that same joy or happiness. So think of a time when you didn't feel happy, you didn't feel welcome, you didn't feel loved, a time when you felt angry or sad, like your heart, your soul had kind of shrunk. There wasn't much room for happiness anymore. Think about what, if anything, when you were feeling like that, helped you feel better. What was love to you? What brought your soul a sense of welcome? What brought you a sense of happiness or joy? Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's a place. What helped you feel better, feel loved, feel cared for, feel lifted up? So on one side of the heart, I want you to write down a word or a few words. It's a person or a song or a place or a moment that brought you love, the gift of their presence, that made you feel happy or joyful when you weren't feeling it. Something that helped you feel a little more happy, at least. Either a person or a song or a place that did do that, or what could have if you didn't feel happy, if nothing came to you when you were feeling down. What could have helped you? So write that on one side. On the other side, I want you to write down a word of what help can you give to others? What gifts do you have to bring to the world? What love do you share? What joy do you bring? What happiness can you share with those around you, or have you shared? What gift do you give? Maybe it's more love or joy or compassion or laughter, a smile, a hug, hot cocoa, whatever it is. What can you offer to help create joy in the world? So we'll have another minute here. Connie's going to play some music. So again, for a refresher, one side, what gift have you been given to feel loved? What has helped you feel loved or joyful? And on the other side, what gift can you give to help others feel loved or joyful? Connie's going to play for a moment while you have a chance to write and think. So you can keep writing and thinking if you need to. So you know what happened next, right? You know what happened as the one with the heart with that was 2 sizes too small was convinced that all the people of the village were going to wake up sad and gloomy, have no joy. Christmas was canceled, and for a time they were sad. All of their decorations gone, no gifts under the tree or in the stockings, sad that someone had taken away all that they had worked so hard to create, this beautiful, festive village. But then, even when the lights were gone and the food was gone and, well, almost everything was gone, their love and their hope and their joy was alive and well. They joined hands, they went out of their homes into the bright morning sun of a winter's day. They gathered their family, they gathered their joy, and hand in hand, heart in heart, they went to the center of the village as they always did, and gathered around a now bare and simple tree, and they sang, and they welcomed in the festive day of love and hope and light with singing. Christmas Day will always be just as long as we have we, they said. And the one with the small heart heard that singing, that all they needed was one another. It was a surprise to his ears. He was puzzled, and he thought on it for a long time. And as he heard the singing, his heart began to grow 3 times its size. We're going to gather around our tree, gather our hearts around our tree. Not everybody's going to come up here. That'll be a little crowded. But we're going to have some helpers go around. Connie's going to play a little bit too. We're going to gather all the hearts. You can pass them to the end of the rows, or someone will come and get them from you. And we're also going to gather any gifts that you have for the giving tree, if you have those with you, any bags, boxes, packages, whatever it is. Also, if you're not going to be here Christmas Eve and would like to turn in your guests at your table box, those can come up too. I'll have the helpers come around and gather, and any children who feel like you're a good helper and want to help with this, you can help too. You can go gather bags, you can go gather hearts as we gather around our tree with all of our hearts. Connie's going to play for us, and you can find the helpers to help you. Now, on the mountainside, writes poet James Wright, that Anne read for us this morning, now impossibly hovering above everything, how can I feel warm, he asks, in the middle of winter? There atop the mountainside, much to the surprise of the one whose heart had grown small, when he couldn't have expected to hear the singing, and in fact had worked quite hard that there wouldn't be any singing that day, that there'd be no joy had by anyone else, there, hovering above everything, he found warmth. Right in the midst of the cold and the piles of snow, right in the dead of winter, now sitting all together strangely on top of the sunlight was the song. He and now we hear their voices. All the Who's down in Whoville, the tall and the small, were singing without any presents at all. Christmas and love and joy came, their festive day of love still came, without ribbons, without tags, without packages and boxes and bags. The simple message of the season is that it is heart to heart and hand in hand that we bring love to life. We become together love and song and hope and joy in living flesh. We are to one another the song that echoes up the mountainside, helping our hearts to grow 3 times its size as many times as we need that to happen. What we need most is not more stuff, more sugar, more online orders, the FedEx and UPS people at our doorstep every day, as nice as they are. What we need most is to hear the song that one another is singing, to join in that song, whatever joy we can sing into this beautiful and broken world, heart to heart, hand in hand, to travel up the mountainside together and strangely be together there, right on top of the sunlight, to let our heart grow, and then to grab our trumpet and join in the song down in the center of the village, around that tree that is not bare, but filled with love and hope and joy of hands held, right down in the center of life in this village that we call home. We're going to sing together, "Where is the Light?" Its lyrics are in your order of service. I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and I'm going to teach you this song.